and work through this one. And as I do, I'm gonna talk out what I'm doing and why. And then if you have a moment where you want to pause me, just go ahead and verbally shout out. That way I don't have to kind of keep looking and analyzing the screen. Don't be afraid to pause me. Just be like, explain that again or whatever. Okay? Promise? Thumbs up if you promise. All right, good enough. Here we go. So I know that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to solve this, right? So I'm trying to find the value of x that made this true. So I'm really trying to isolate x. Now, the problem for me is right now, x is kind of, well, actually this whole exponent thingy, you know? And then on top of that, that's actually an exponent on e itself. So just like we were able to actually solve the last ones, like if we had e to the x equals 4, we had no problem solving it that, right? We had no problem saying like, all right, well, that's natural log of 4 equals x. That's what we were able to do on some of the previous problems. So this isn't all that much different. I wish that I could kind of change the structure around and just isolate our exponential expression there. If I could just get that isolated all by itself, then I could just do what I've done before and kind of change it around to a log. No big deal. I see this, I don't see this. So that's gonna be my thinking. I'm just gonna try to isolate that orange bubble, that e to the x over 2 power. So when I look at this, I could do multiple things. I could distribute the 20 and then kind of move some things around, or I could just get rid of the 20 right now because that 20 is actually multiplying that whole group. So if I want to get rid of that 20, I could just divide it from both sides. And that would leave me with 100, subtract e to the x over 2 power equals, let's see, that's like 50 divided by 2, which is 25. Because I could just get rid of that factor of 10 in each of those. All right, so keep in mind, my whole goal was to try to get something comfy like over there, because I can solve that. So the thing that's stopping me now, I wish that 100 was gone. So we can go ahead and get rid of that. That's no big deal. Done this before, lots of algebra. Well, thinking ahead of myself, did you see that? So I'm going to subtract 100 from both sides. All right? And that's just going to leave me with, and I have to be careful here. Keep in mind that's a negative e to the x over 2 power. I've got to bring my negative down. And that equals negative 75, because I can do 25 minus 100. And then again, I really want to isolate, kind of trying to look for that target structure like on that right, because that was easy to solve. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that negative. And you could multiply it by a -1. You could divide it by a -1. Doesn't really matter. You could just flip both sides, It's like, change them from negative to positive. Doesn't really matter because there's only a single term. But that's going to leave me with e to the x over 2 power equals 75. I'm good with everything you've done. You went a little fast. I might have a question. You lost me somewhere. We all have thumbs. We all have one of those regions in which we would vote. Okay, looks like we're all right. So just like we did before with this problem over here, right? Like we can kind of change around the structure. I'm really trying to get this exponent. I'm trying to figure out what that is. So I can kind of treat this, it's structured just the same way as this orange problem up here. I can go ahead and isolate the exponent by changing it from an exponential expression to a log expression. So I'm just going to kind of change around the structure. Another way I could write this would be log base e of 75 equals x over 2. Right? We're just changing the structure around. Right? Because the logs isolate the exponent. Or I could really say natural log of 75 equals x over 2 because they mean the same thing. No big deal. And then finally, since I'm trying to solve for x, right, I could just go ahead and multiply by 2 on both sides. And I would have x equals 2 natural log of 75. And we'd be all set. What questions might you have on this problem?